Tonight's meeting is now reconvened to open session. The board would like to remind the public that this meeting is being audio and video recorded. It's also available via live stream for the public through links found on the front page of the RUSD website. We would also like to remind everybody to please enter and exit through the lobby. Filling in for Superintendent Stock this evening will be Jennifer Stahlheber, our Deputy Superintendent of Business Operations. Welcome. Tonight, we have Adriana Boyce from Whitney High School as our student board rep. Adriana, will you please introduce the color guard and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of the colors by the Rocklin Unified School District's Junior ROTC Color Guard and the Pledge of Allegiance. The commander and U.S. flag bearer for this evening's color guard is Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Sophia Burkhalter. The state flag is carried by Cadet Captain Titan Owens. The right guard is Cadet Staff Sergeant Madison Card. The left guard is Cadet Master Sergeant Christopher Renner. The alternatives for tonight are Cadet Master Sergeant Samuel Gazelis, Cadet Airman Basic Bogdan Klimanov.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order. Forward. March.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now move to our special recognition and presentations portion of the evening. Chief Dosanjh, will you please introduce our family partners in education recognition for the night?
Good evening, President Sadoff, trustees, and Deputy Superintendent Stahlheber. The Family Partners in Education program allows the Rocklin Unified School District to recognize family engagement and involvement to help our students achieve excellence during the school year. Granite Oaks Middle School Principal Jay Holmes is introducing the Poida family for tonight's Family Partners in Education recognition.
Good evening, President Satoff, esteemed trustees, and Deputy Superintendent Jennifer Stahlheber, sorry. It's been a long day, dressing as a baby, then we had all sorts of flag football games and volleyball games. You know how it all goes. I am so pleased to have Heidi and her family come in today. What makes us different as a district is the families, the support that we get as schools, as a whole district, as a board. It truly sets us apart. And luckily, Heidi spaced her kids correctly, so that she could be at Granite Oaks for quite a long time. She is one of the people that I count on for so many things. She's helping right now with our fundraiser, our booster fundraiser that she did encourage me to wear a baby outfit today. So blow up baby outfit. I've got some great pictures. I'm sure it went viral somehow. She's been on our site council for 6 years. She is someone that we truly count on to help keep our school running the way it does, because the fundraiser helps our PFC support our clubs. It helps support our curriculum. It helps us buy IXL. It helps us do so many things on our campus to support our students and staff. With us tonight, we have Quinn and William and Jim and Mark and Allison, who's a 7th grader at Granite Oaks right now. She's got a great picture of me in the baby outfit. And Camille, who's at cheer for Rocklin. Couldn't make it tonight, but that's kind of makes us sad. Heidi, again, she does a wonderful job helping us to just do our thing at Granite Oaks Middle School. So I'm proud to bring Heidi and all her family with us tonight to celebrate her. Everyone, come on up.
Can I just interject really fast while she's walking up that this also could have been said for Rocklin High School, because you've been on the parent club for 6 years? Yeah. Yes, and had as an officer, and we appreciate so much all that you do.
All right. From the board, we would just like to say thank you so much. Our schools could not run the way they do without parents like you. It is absolutely essential that we have parents like you who are there all the time working with our kids and working with our staff and making our schools just the most amazing places. And we're so very grateful for you. We have a certificate and a little gift. And a thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you, family, for supporting her and all that she does on our campuses. And then if you would step over here, we'll take a picture.
Thank you again for your many years of service. We could not do what we do without the parent and family involvement, so thank you. Chief Desange, will you please introduce our employee recognition for the evening?
President Sadoff, trustees, and Deputy Superintendent Stahlheber. Tonight for our employee recognition, Quarry Trail Elementary School Principal Melanie Patterson will join us to introduce Elizabeth Salazar.
Good evening, President Satoff, Board of Trustees, our amazing Deputy Superintendent, and Cabinet. Wonderful, and families. It is wonderful to be here, and I have to tell you, I think it's my old age. I come to you, and I like have everything scripted, and then I just look at it and say, oh, no, I'm not going to read it to you. Instead, I'm going to just tell you a couple of stories. How's that sound? But I might read a couple words, so just bear with me. Elizabeth Salazar, also known as Miss Liz, is our principal secretary at Quarry Trail Elementary School. She, by the way, is Bronco #1. And I have to explain this story in that I may have watched a little bit too much SEAL Team, and the walkie-talkie call names are Bravo, if you've ever watched this. Bravo 1 through 6, and so when we talk to each other on our walkie-talkies, it's Bronco 1 and Bronco 2 and Bronco 3 anyway, and so Elizabeth is definitely Bronco 1. She's Bronco 1 because she was the first employee after I was hired to be hired, and also she worked at Quarry Trail for about 6 months prior to anybody else coming on board. And so she was there, and she has, in the time that she's been with us when we started Quarry Trail, she has now enrolled and brought in 706 students to Quarry Trail. And with that, I will just tell you, she is amazing. She's essential in her role. And I used to actually want to say that principal secretary is not quite the right title, but I've decided against that now. I love that title because secretary has so much meaning and value to our entire school and our school community. So just a couple things I want to tell you. She juggles her responsibilities with grace, with professionalism. She goes above and beyond. From the very first moment I met her till just yesterday, she gives passion like no other in order to build a school that is part of our mission as a dual language school, is to be culturally competent. And she helps us with that. We're all learning and growing, and she's very passionate with that, and so we lean on her leadership in that way. I appreciate that about her. She, I'll tell you another story in that as secretary, as you may know, that she's responsible for the substitutes and making sure all of our students have staff members there every day. It's not an easy job still as we've, moved along. And I know that she pays attention 24 hours a day. And I appreciate that because that means I don't. And so, but also, just a quick story, I may get up very early, 4:15 in the morning, and I start exercising at 5. And this week, I exercised at 5 in the dark, cruising along the sidewalk with a colleague of mine, good friend, also teacher at our school, who proceeded to trip and fall and break her arm. And I had no cell phone, and if you've not noticed, I have no phone numbers memorized because everybody's just a name in my cell phone now, right? And so I proceeded to get her to the hospital and think, okay, and all the teacher could tell me was all the lesson plans for the entire day, which I just proceeded to listen to and say, okay, well, what else and what else? And all I did was say, well, how am I going to get a hold of Elizabeth? I'm not sure, I don't have her phone number. I said, but I'm going to email her at 5:45 in the morning and say, help please, this is Melanie, we need a sub and some lesson plans. And immediately I'm on it. And she took care of it. And before I got there, which I made it to school at about 8:30 that morning after making sure everything was okay at the hospital, Elizabeth had everything covered. Staff, students were there, and Elizabeth made sure that we cared for her and that our colleague didn't have to think about anything except for a broken arm, of course. So there's so many things. I can tell you she's bilingual. She is amazing. She's never been a principal secretary before, and she's smart and she's quick. And she really helps make our school run smoothly. And so I love her. I know all of our staff do. And I just want to welcome Elizabeth Salazar, but also her family, Yvonne, Alexandra, Zachary, with Elizabeth, they're Whitney High School senior, 8th grade at Granite Oaks. Her husband puts up with us all, and he's fabulous. And so would you please welcome them up?
Congratulations, Miss Liz. This is a gift from, the district to recognize you. This is so well deserved. You have been, from the get-go, such an amazing resource for parents when we have questions and we come in to the office. Just so warm and welcoming. Keep it a well-oiled machine running. It's a big campus, tons of kids, and you're just such a valuable part of our Quarry Trail community, and we value you greatly.
I love seeing not only the family, but our school site families coming out to celebrate each other. That's so sweet to see. Well, we are at the point of the evening where we would like to thank you and your families for joining us. And although you are more than welcome to stay for the riveting meeting we have ahead of us, it is fully appropriate for you to slip out at this time as we head on to the rest of the business for the evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. Okay, well, we will go ahead and continue on with our business for the night. We do not have reports from our labor partners for the evening, so we'll go ahead and move on to items 7.1 and 7.2. 7.1, comments and report from our student board representative. Welcome again, Adriana Boyce from Whitney High School. Will you please share your report with us?
Good evening, trustees and everyone. Here are a few updates from our schools. Rocklin Elementary's Theater Arts Club is thrilled to present Peter Pan, offering students multiple ways to get involved. K through second grade students can join the chorus, adding to the magic of the show, and for those interested in working behind the scenes, opportunities are available in set design and tech crew. This production encourages creativity and teamwork, and their students will showcase their talents next week. Corey Trail has had a great start to the year with TK through kindergarten meet up at the park to welcome back picnic for the whole school last month. Since then, Corey Trail has had its welcome back assembly where its mascot Bucky the Bronco made an appearance to kick off the year. Corey Trail was also awarded the platinum level for the California PBIS program. They are so proud of students, staff, and families for working together to make Corey Trail a great place to learn and work. Coming up in early October, its PTC will also be hosting a movie night to kickstart the opening night of their fall book fair. Also, they are planning mini field trips for all of its students to learn about planet cycles, Rocklin, and California history. Antelope Creek has also been driving forward with Spark the Arts. Teachers have had professional development in visual and performing arts techniques, California arts, framework content, and unit development. Their staff has also been introduced to a new coordinator, and work has begun on transforming the physical environment both inside and outside of the classroom. Also, partnerships with their community organization and colleagues are being discussed and developed. Finally, their annual dance show will also take place during October, and performances will be held for the community in November. They look forward to the continued growth and development as they charge ahead at Antelope Creek. Sierra Elementary is also off to a great start. On Tuesday, Sierra's PTC provided an amazing assembly to kick off fundraising efforts for Sierra's Fun Run, which is organized to raise funds to pay for Sierra's Spanish instructor to support the second language requirement of the IB program at Sierra. Sierra Elementary is very grateful of their PTC and community donors' commitment to support the Sierra Spanish program. Sierra Sharks are swimming their way to differentiating learning in math and English language arts instruction during the Walk to Learn time, aka Shark Shuffle, which includes intervention teachers and aides that contribute to the progress they saw in their students in math achievement last year. Sierra staff is also celebrating tremendous progress in the overall success of their young readers in kindergarten through second grades, giving thanks to the implementation of the UFLI extending from intervention classrooms and into their Tier 1 program. They are excited to see continued growth in this area over the year. Finally, Sierra's cross-country team, led by Sierra PE teacher and cross-country coach Susie Farley, participated in their first meet today. They give big thanks to their coach and parents for supporting their running Sharks. Parker Whitney's also had an exciting start to the year with various student activities and events. Their cross-country team, also led by coaches Perez and Anderson, have had a fantastic time during practice, and they're eagerly anticipating their first meet. They also just wrapped up their Panther Fun Run, hosted by their PTC, which also saw incredible support from their generous community. Next week, their PTC also organized the second annual Panther Social with trivia at Cool River Pizza, and the Panthers are excited. Looking ahead, they are gearing up for their upcoming book fair and ice cream social, along with their Harvest Festival, both of which promise to be fun-filled events. Rock Creek has been busy digging into their data, making small groups during their SOAR time, and their year is off to a great start. They are looking forward to their fall book fair and grand event, a day where grandparents get to come and enjoy lunch with their Red Hawk and shop the book fair together next week. Their PTC is hosting its first Food Truck Friday for the year, next Friday. Also, the Red Hawks are looking forward to their annual dance show in October and participating in KCRA 3's Kids Can Food Drive later that month. Brain Shuffle has begun. Third graders are enjoying traveling to different rooms to meet their various needs in language arts. Also, the school has been loving Rocklin High interns who help ELA activities run smoothly in kindergarten. Also, Breen's student leadership application is underway, where students will apply to join the Breen Bobcat Leadership Program. Through service and spirit, these leaders learn how to support their community and grow as individuals in responsibility, respect, safety, and problem solving. Springview Middle School is having an assembly educating students on appropriate social media usage and building connections tomorrow. Later this week, they are also hosting their second annual family picnic and One Pill Can Kill assembly. They are also kicking off the school year with their first dance on the 27th. Whitney High School is gearing up for an exciting Under the Sea themed homecoming week, packed with events. To kick off the week, we are bringing back Wildcat Showdown, which is a pageant competition open to all genders, followed by themed spirit days, giveaways, fun-filled lunchtime activities, a spirited rally, and the highly anticipated class floats with skits and royalty during the football game. The week will culminate with the grand finale of the homecoming dance. And as an added highlight, on Friday, October 4th, Whitney will host the biggest social event of the year, the Corey Bowl. That is all. Thank you.
Great report. Thank you for all of those updates. Adriana, great job. Okay, we'll now move on to item 7.2, our comments from our board trustees. Do you have any comments you'd like to share for the evening?
I'm happy to go first. Tell us a little bit about you, though, because I think this is your first meeting, right? So are you applying for college? Or are you looking
Yes, slowly applying for colleges. I'm planning probably to stay in California and applying to most of the UCs.
Awesome. Great. It's good. It's hard to leave this good weather.
Yeah.
Oh, I hear
it's
somebody's
hard.
cheering for their school down here, their alma mater. Good for you. So what other things do you like to do? What are you involved in?
I'm also a part of the cheer program. I've been doing the Whitney Junior Wildcats cheer program since I was 6 years old.
Wow.
So this is going to be my last year. So I've been busy with that, preparing for homecoming week and Corey Bowl and everything.
Yeah.
And then obviously leadership, working a lot of hours to prepare for homecoming next week. Yeah.
Yes, I know that personally. It is a ton of hours,
Yeah.
but so
It's going to be
fun.
exciting.
Yeah, it'll be a great week. Well, good. We're excited to have you here.
Thank you.
A couple things to share. I am really excited that, I'm not sure if you guys had heard, it was new to me to hear that we are getting our first ever shade structure at Sunset Ranch, courtesy of their parent club, which is pretty amazing. So their parent club president, Holly Franklin, has been working, I'm sure, very hard for many years. And Craig tells me it's going to be installed on Friday, which is awesome. Completed. What's the difference between completed and installed? It'll be done. Okay, perfect. So it's 30 feet by 40 feet on the playground, and then there's a single pole shade structure in the kinder playground. So that is just awesome, and I really appreciate all the work that those parents have gone to. I cannot imagine those are not inexpensive, so that's pretty exciting. Also, I was able to attend Breaking Down the Walls this last week, not this last week, the week before at Rocklin High School. It's awesome to see so many students able to participate in that. I'm a huge fan of that program and have been for a long time. Their theme is, it's hard to hate someone whose story you know, and I love that. So it was really cool to kind of be a fly on the wall and watch those kids really get out of their comfort zone. And that program is coming also to Whitney High School in November, and so parents should be watching and students to sign up for that. In addition, I spent a couple hours at maintenance and operations, which was awesome. Bettina gave me a wonderful tour along with Craig, and it's really inspiring to see all the good work that they're doing down there. And we have, all these guys coming in with all this maintenance equipment, and we've got our own mechanic, working there in-house to fix things, and they've got a really great facility there. So it was really great to meet some of those employees. I'm always impressed with the work that they're doing and how hard they work on our campuses. So that was great. Also just wanted to share Parent University is coming up, so please mark your calendars because because our people in education services put in so much work, and we really hope that our community will support them. We've got classes coming October 7th on healthy relationships, online safety, mental health. I'm sure I may miss a few, wellness and anxiety, stress coping strategies, and then a really cool opportunity to take a full 6-week Love and Logic course, both a K through 6 and also a teen class. So those are coming up, and I know an email went out, but I just wanted to give an extra plug for those because I know the amount of work that goes into that, and we've always just had a great turnout, but also done a really fantastic job for our families, and I think that's a great thing to take advantage of. Thank you.
Okay, so I was going to talk about some of those things. Now I don't need to. So I will just say it was really awesome going through the projects that were done over the summer. So many great projects, so many beautiful projects. The tennis courts are just stunning, and I'm really excited about the improvements that have happened over at Rocklin High. And then I just wanted to say welcome to Adriana, and a lot of firsts and a lot of lasts this year. It'll be really exciting and fun to get to know you and to hear about all those firsts and lasts. Welcome.
Okay, I just would like to also second what Trustee Price mentioned about the Parent University. It is really valuable to attend. The district puts forth such great offerings, how to help your student academically, how to help them social emotionally, the Love and Logic. It's parenting, but it's also just how to, help kind of work through difficult kind of behavior type things. I went through it for work. I found it very valuable. And also some digital citizenship type topics that I think we're all still continuing to try to navigate and learn. So I highly recommend looking into it. It's nice. There are multiple dates, so if certain things don't work, hopefully something else will. I also just wanted to mention I got to go out to my first cross-country meet that I've ever watched for our middle schoolers in Rocklin. And they did an amazing job, just thinking that for a lot of them it was maybe their first ever cross-country meet, and so very impressed by them. I also went out on Thursday. The girls' flag football had a camp appreciation night for students, younger kids who had taken part in their flag football camp. And they got to go out on the field in between the JV and the varsity games and kind of take part in their warm-up and national anthem routine and sit on the sidelines. And my girls thought it was really fun. Both JV and varsity did an amazing job out there and won their games, so that was pretty cool. I did want to acknowledge a situation that happened last Friday that is, maybe not as fun to talk about, but for district parents, just knowing that they got communication about an unfounded threat that had been made over social media. I just wanted to give a really big thank you to our staff for everything that they did to help to get communication out. Parents, by and large, who I spoke with, thought that the communication was helpful and informative, in letting them know that there was not a real threat. I also wanted to thank Springview parents in particular. A lot of parents went to the school that day with concerns, but by all reports, they were patient, they were respectful, they were understanding of the circumstances and how difficult those things are to deal with. I think we always, as a district, will have room to reflect and see how we can adjust, and continue to make those kind of circumstances flow as smoothly as possible. But there are some things that are out of our control in those situations. And one thing in particular, we did have the media show up outside of campus that day, even though the threat had been widely communicated by the district and Rocklin PD as unfounded. And unfortunately, some students did see the media parked outside in a car with a camera that looked questionable, and it did add to the anxiety, the uncertainty that some of those students were having, and led to some fear and kind of added to a scary situation. So I really would hope in the future there would be more discretion exercised by the media when doing their reporting near school campuses when children are out and present. But I am really grateful for our district safety committee, our administrators, our staff, who just continue to work very hard to make sure that our students are not negatively impacted when situations like this arise.
I'll just say real quick, Parent University, great thing. Please, make the plug. We'll all say that. And then good note about the safety part. It's a challenge when those things arise. I think our team did a great job following up and handling it. It's just frustrating when that happens at your school. So, tough one. I will look forward to a Granite Oaks Middle School cross-country meet. I got one coming up tomorrow that I'll go hang out at, and then it'll be fun. Get to see the kids.
Great. I know it's been mentioned multiple times, but I printed it out, so I got to make a comment about it too. The Parent University, I just wanted to echo, the incredible value of this, not only the great work that goes into offering this to parents, but I think there's something so powerful about parents having an opportunity to come on to their students' campuses and for them to really, experience a moment of teaching on campuses from our staff and from a lot of phenomenal educators that we have, not only here, but locally in our community as well. So there's a variety of options for families, variety of time frames. If you haven't had a chance to check that out, I definitely encourage you to. I love getting to pop in and see parents kind of rotating through the classes and connecting again on our campuses and learning some great tools, not only on parenting, but also math success. That can be intimidating for a parent to, do math homework, right? And so the goal of this is to make it easier for you parents and to make sure that you are able to engage with your students in their learning. And so thank you again to our cabinet and staff that have worked really hard to put that on. Upcoming in October, we have a series of dates that were emailed out. I also wanted to speak to the incident that happened last week and, of course, show appreciation for the incredible work of our staff and cabinet. And I thought there was a great email that was sent out on Monday that really highlighted some of the great steps that our campuses are taking. It was a joint communication from our superintendent and our labor partners, really highlighting campus safety on our campuses, things such as, ensuring that our staff and volunteers are wearing ID badges, ensuring that classrooms are locked and building doors are locked and closed. There's a series of things that were emailed out, but also I really appreciated the note about October 14th is our safety committee. And at that meeting, we'll have teachers, parents, law enforcement, and administrators coming together, and they're going to be going over our site training drills, going over, where our cameras are on campuses, and do we need to reassess those? Even going over our anonymous tip reporting and a lot of our procedures. And I know there were some parents that, called and said, hey, I'd love to know more about what the school is doing, and so, or our district is doing. And so I really appreciated that communication going out. I think there are some incredible procedures in place, and there's always opportunities for us to reassess and grow and learn, but I appreciate the communication going out so that way it's clear what our USD is doing and what we're really looking at, continuing to look at and evaluate and do even better. So if you have ideas or thoughts and you're not on the safety committee, but you have them, please reach out. Reach out to a board representative, reach out to your site. We'd love to hear ideas because, again, the safety of our staff and our students is incredibly important to us and obviously our priority. I also just wanted to highlight Sunday there was a really great event in the city of Rocklin, Patriot Day. And I thought it was just a phenomenal event for our community to come together. Many of our students were there. Our Rocklin High and Whitney High jazz bands participated. We also had our Whitney High Honor Guard there. And I just think it's great that when our city hosts an event, they connect our students with the event and they give them opportunities to be involved, to serve and to give back. But as a parent, I thought it was really special. This was an opportunity for me I've spoken about this event in the past, but this year again, to take my 5-year-old around some of the stations and talk about, 9/11 and, what happened and why it's important that we have these conversations. And so I just really appreciated the involvement of our district, our students, and of course the great work of our city. And I just thought that was a great event that was hosted really, really well with a really important educational purpose, but also an opportunity for us to thank and appreciate our first responders in our community. With that, Deputy Superintendent, do you have any comments for the evening?
I'm pleased to share the success of this past Monday's Professional Development Day. It was a great example of collaboration and collective commitment to continuous improvement across the district. Our elementary staff actively engaged in grade level and vertical articulation professional learning sessions with a specific focus on enhancing math instruction. At the same time, our secondary staff participated in site-based professional learning sessions, concentrating on key areas such as student engagement, instructional learning, and social emotional learning. And then additionally, our office professionals from various sites took part in a district office training session focusing on critical areas such as attendance, business, and HR operations. So I just want to thank everyone that contributed to making the day a success. Your dedication to professional growth and collaboration is what makes our district strong. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We will now move to our consent calendar. Item 8.1, all matters listed under the consent calendar are to be considered routine and will be enacted by one motion followed by a roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the Board of Trustees requests specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. Any items removed will be voted upon following the motion to approve the consent calendar. Does any trustee wish to remove an item from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve consent agenda items?
So moved.
First by Trustee Price, second by Trustee Hupp. Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Adriana Boyce,
Yes.
Julie Hupp,
Yes.
Rochelle Price,
Yes.
Derek Counter,
Yes.
Michelle Sutherland,
Yes.
Tiffany Sadoff.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to our action items for the evening. Item 9.1, we'll look at action on our unaudited actuals financial statement. Beth Parrish, our Director of Fiscal Services, will be joining us this evening. Welcome.
Good evening, President Satov, the Board of Trustees, and Deputy Superintendent Stahlheber. I'm here to present the unaudited actuals for 23-24. So this is going to be our actual revenues and expenditures for 23-24. It is unaudited because it has not been reviewed yet by our external auditors. This is an illustration of where we are in our budget cycle. When we last met, we talked about estimated actuals for 23-24 and the adopted budget for 24-25. And when we come back again in December, we will do a first interim budget update for 24-25 along with our audited financials. So this slide shows the changes in unrestricted revenue from estimated actuals. The small change in the local control funding formula, or LCFF, was mostly due to an increase in our NPS, or non-public school students, 4.67 ADA. The increase in other state revenue is lottery. We got a rate increase from 177 to 211 per ADA for 23-24. The biggest change in other local revenue is due to the GASB 31 fair market value entry. Most of our funds are kept with the county in a pooled investment account, and we're required to show a decrease in the fair market value on our books. The decrease was about 1.17%, and this is a required entry that we reversed on July 1st. And these are the changes in our restricted revenues. Most federal revenue cannot be recognized until it is spent. So any excess revenue that was received and not spent is moved over to unearned revenue and will be carried over to next year. The changes here are from Title I and IV, about $179,000, and special education, $110,000. In other state revenues, some grants are handled similarly to federal, where you cannot recognize the revenue until it is spent. So we have $223,000 carried over for universal pre-K planning and $548,000 for CTIG. This is a net increase there's a net of an increase of restricted lottery of $341,000. The biggest change in other revenue is $690,000 from the Children and Youth Behavioral Initiative, or CYBHI grants, that had to be invoiced to receive the funding. There was also $75,000 for special education, and the $121,000 in other sources uses is due to a payout of our 1998 GO bonds that we paid off. So we had a little bit of extra money there. And it's restricted because it'll be used for facilities. And as you can see from this pie chart, by far, most of our revenue does come from LCFF, 76.38% last year. This slide shows the changes in our unrestricted expenditures. Salaries and benefits overall had a savings of $166,000 due to unfilled vacancies and some sub-budgets. Not all subs are in STRS and PERS, and they don't receive health and welfare benefits, so that's why you see that bigger decrease in the benefits line. Salaries and benefits comprise 89.29% of all unrestricted expenditures. Books and supplies, $509,000 savings due to $123,000 of ERP, or that stands for our Equipment Replacement Plan, will be carried over to 24-25. $100,000 of instructional materials were moved from books and supplies over to software, which is on our services line, and $293,000 will be carried over to next year. Services and other operating, we had a net change of $18,000 made up of multiple increases and decreases, mostly increases in instructional software, like I said, and net of savings that will be carried over to 24-25, and some budget savings. Capital outlay, there's a tiny piece of that Sunset Ranch project that is coming out of their site funds, $14,000, and so that's going to be carried over to 24-25 and finished up on Friday, I guess. $128,000 from this last line is a decrease in indirect costs. And restricted expenditures, overall savings and salary and benefits here is $57,000. Again, due to the unfilled vacancies and sub-budgets, and the decrease in benefits due to not all subs being in PERS and STRS or eligible for health and welfare. Salaries and benefits make up 70.91% of restricted expenditures. Books and supplies decreased by $1.6 million, mostly due to carryover of CTIG, Title I, and other one-time funds to 24-25. Services also decreased by $1.6 million. Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, ELOP, expenses came in lower than contracted, about $251,000. Special ed, legal, and NPS, NPA, which stands for non-public agency, was lowered by $642,000, and routine restricted maintenance, or RRMA, projects of $263,000 will be carried over and finished in 24-25. And instructional materials of $307,000 will be carried over. Capital outlay decreased by $781,000, mostly due to, again, RRMA projects, carried over to 24-25. The PTC portion of that shade structure, $78,000, and some CTIG tech equipment that wasn't received until 24-25. And arts, music, and instructional material block grant and donation funds that will also be carried over to 24-25. And there was a $133,000 decrease in indirect costs. So if you look at this pie chart, you can see that capital outlay was, let's see, it was about $4.9 million, which is higher than usual. We had expenses of $3.1 million for our electric bus and infrastructure grants that were recognized this year. The revenue and expense has to be booked for these grants. So even though the net cost is very small for the district, we have to show these expenses here in this pie chart. We also spent $641,000 on one-time AMIM grants for HVAC replacement, van replacements, and the Rock Creek fire alarm replacement. And if we didn't have these one-time capital expenditures, our salaries and benefits percentage would have been 84.27. It's more what you're used to seeing. Combined, our ending fund balance increased by $4.9 million, mostly due to a decrease in expenditures. Most of this increase, $3.6 million, was an increase in restricted fund balance. This is mostly due to categorical funding, such as CTIG, Universal Pre-K Planning, Title I, one-time block grants, ELOP, and routine restricted maintenance that will be carried over into 24-25. There was also a decrease in the estimated cost of special education, legal, NPA, and NPS costs that lowered the contribution from unrestricted to restricted, which accounts for most of the decrease in the unrestricted fund balance. So the unrestricted fund balance decreased by $1.2 million and restricted by 3.6. I'm sorry, increased. Our unassigned reserve for economic uncertainty, which includes the required REU of 3%, went from 5.88% at estimated actual to 7.24% in unaudited actuals. This chart shows the change in our committed and assigned funds from estimated actuals. The biggest change is in the instructional materials commitment, which decreased by about $1 million. This is mostly due to an increase in restricted lottery revenue that we discussed before. We use the restricted lottery revenue to fund the bulk of our instructional materials plan. This commitment is an estimate of what we will need to contribute from unrestricted funds over the next 5 years to cover our current plan. And a recap of some of the changes in our other funds. GASB 31 fair market value entry applies to all our funds, all money that is held at the county. So decreases can be seen here as well. Some of the biggest changes are in Fund 13 cafeteria. We had an increase of $310,000 due to an increase in meal reimbursements, as well as a $130,000 refrigerated truck. It didn't quite get here by June 30th, but we do have it. So. Fund 40, Special Reserve for Capital Outlay, a decrease of $233,000 is mostly due to that GASB 31 entry. Fund 49, Melrose Capital Projects, an increase of $2.2 million is due to the Quarry Trail Growth Portable Project being carried over into 24-25. We weren't quite finished by June 30th. Net of $107,000 decrease, again, our friend GASB 31. Fund 52, Melrose Debt Service, the decrease of almost $1.5 million is due to a decrease in tax receipts due to the one-time payment of $7 million that we made towards the principal of our 2020 refunding lease. This payment lowered the remaining debt service payments and associated tax collections. There was also a $78,000 GASB 31 entry. And then Fund 71 is a retiree benefit fund. So we requested a reimbursement of our 23-24 OPEB health and welfare payments from CERT, who holds our money. We moved the money over there about just over a year ago. So next steps is we'll be back in December with our final audit and our first interim budget report. Are there any questions?
Well, thank you, Beth, for the great report. I mean, these slides are phenomenal at communicating the incredible work that you and the entire team are doing. This is not an easy job, but I so appreciate you accounting for every dollar, every penny. So I did have something I wanted to comment on. So if you look at slides 7 and 8, and you combine those together, it would appear as though that we have just over $4 million in decreased expenses. However, that doesn't necessarily mean we have $4 million extra dollars to spend, right? I believe that's a combination, hearing what you said and looking at the detailed report given to us. That's a combination of the timing of expenditures, that a bulk of that is really when the cutoff of the date, the dollars may not have hit, so they are still planned and expected to be spent. It just may not have hit by the cutoff, correct?
Right, with accrual accounting, we have to either receive the item or have the expense incurred by June 30th.
And that's quite difficult when you're getting a school up and running in the fall, right?
Right.
So I saw that a bulk of that was due to that. But I also did want to highlight and notice, though, we have had some great decreases that I think are good to highlight. I mean, in specific, $642,000 decrease in legal fees, and that's, you know, specifically looking at those special education legal fees, but that's something really important to highlight. That's $642,000, right, that does free up. You know, I saw, you know, a few other decreases, but I thought that was just a notable decrease, and I just wanted to communicate that out to the community, that hard work has been done, and so I appreciate you not only, you know, reporting on that here, but just wanted to clarify that. Is that correct?
Correct. It also included some decreases in our non-public school placements, which is also a great area to see and experience decreases in, because that tends to be one of those areas we see increases year over year.
Now, could you speak to that for parents listening in that may not understand, because that's actually a really valid point. Can you speak to why that's important that those costs have actually gone down?
Well, hopefully it means we either had lower than we projected placements in those programs, which means we're able to meet the needs of those students here within the district.
That's huge. So thank you. Every dollar saved is a dollar we can spend somewhere else on helping our students have the best, excellent education that we can give them. Trustees, any other comments or questions from the board?
Just thank you.
Well, I just want to take a minute to thank the whole business department because we're such a great team and everybody works so hard to do this. So thank you.
Great job, Beth. Thank you.
Yes, great job. Well, I so appreciate, again, the work, being able to sit on the audit committee. I look forward to working together more as the year goes on, but I appreciate this report. And so with that, I'm not seeing any public comment. Okay, seeing no public comment, is there a motion to approve our unaudited financials?
So moved.
First by Trustee Counter, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Sutherland. Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Adriana Boyce,
Yes.
Julie Hupp,
Yes.
Rochelle Price,
Yes.
Derek Counter,
Yes.
Michelle Sutherland,
Yes.
Tiffany Sadoff.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you again, Beth, to you and the entire team that put together these unaudited actuals. We appreciate it. Okay, we will now move on, and we will continue to have Beth presenting for item 9.2, our action on Resolution 242509, establishing our appropriation limitations for the 2024-25 school year.
So Ed Code Section 4132 specifies that the school district governing board shall adopt a resolution identifying the estimated appropriation limits in the current year and the actual appropriation limits for the preceding year. This was put into Ed Code to constrain yearly spending by linking year-to-year changes to expense to changes in inflation and population. The district's revised GAN limit for 23-24 is $102,654,435.76, and the budget limit for 24-25 is $106,349,252.23.
Thank you. I know that this is just a annual item that we need to review, but I appreciate you bringing it forward. Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
First by Trustee Hupp, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Price. Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Adriana Boyce,
Yes.
Julie Hupp,
Yes.
Rochelle Price,
Yes.
Derek Counter,
Yes.
Michelle Sutherland,
Yes.
Tiffany Sadoff.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you, and thank you again, Beth, for presenting tonight. Okay, we will now move to item 9.3. Dr. Bill McDonald, our Associate Superintendent of Elementary Education, will you please report on our action on Resolution 242507, a resolution affirming sufficient textbooks and instructional materials for the 2024-25 school year?
Yes. Good evening, President Sadoff, Board of Trustees, Deputy Superintendent Stahlheber. In order to comply with the requirements of Ed Code 60119, Rocklin Unified is required to hold a public hearing on the sufficiency of textbooks in the school district. A notice of public hearing was posted on August 30th at 3 Rocklin schools, 10 days prior to this hearing, as required by Ed Code. As Associate Superintendent and a representative for Rocklin, I attest that there are sufficient textbooks and instructional materials for each student attending the Rocklin Unified School District in all academic areas, including mathematics, science, history, social science, English language arts, foreign language, health, and laboratory science. These textbooks are available both at school and at home and are aligned with the academic content standards by the state of California and consistent with the current adoption cycle. At this time, I request the board hold the public hearing and approve the resolution provided to affirm sufficient textbooks in Rocklin for the 24-25 school year.
Thank you. We will now officially open a hearing. I now open a hearing to affirm sufficient textbooks and instructional materials for the 24-25 school year. See no public comment. No public comment. I close the hearing. With that, any Board of Trustees comments or questions? See none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
First by Trustee Price, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Counter. Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Adriana Boyce,
Yes.
Julie Hupp,
Yes.
Rochelle Price,
Yes.
Jarrett Counter.
Yes.
Michelle Sutherland.
Yes.
Tiffany Sadoff.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you, and thank you again, Dr. McDonald. Okay, we will now move to item 9.4, action on BPAR, our board policy, administrative regulations 5113 on absences and excuses. Hannah Anderson, our Director of Innovation and School Programs, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Board President Sadoff, trustees, Deputy Superintendent Stahlheber. Tonight I am here asking for action on Board Policy Administrative Regulation 5113, which expand authorized reasons for excused absences from school. Taking action on this policy and regulation will bring Rocklin Unified's policy and regulation on absences and excusals up to date and in alignment with current district procedures and education code. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions and request action on board policy and AR 5113. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess just, again, and read through it, any significant, I mean, like looking through it, there was a handful of red lines in the policy. Was this just updating it? Were we changing anything major, or just we hadn't touched this in a long time type thing?
This is bringing our current board policy and administrative regulation up to date in terms of what our process is in our schools. And so education code guides which absences are considered excused in the state of California across all school districts. And so as ed code changes, our procedures will change to match that. And we felt, especially with the next board policy that's coming before you this evening, we wanted to make sure it was clear in our policy and regulation which absences were considered excused from school, to make sure that we're transparent with the community about how students are able to take time away from school and what's considered excused and unexcused, because this might lead to more families wanting to take an independent study option in place of one of these excused or not excused absences. So no major changes in terms of our practice. There have been changes since 2012 when this policy was last updated. Most of them have to do with updates to reasons for excused absences, such as mental health related reasons, opportunities for students to participate in civic engagement, opportunities, and other absences that are included, all detailed in the administrative regulation.
So for the parents that happen to be listening, an example of an unexcused or something that, even though mom and dad call up and say something, what just doesn't cut it?
What doesn't cut it? If you are going on a vacation during the school year, that is not considered an excused absence from school. That would be a perfect example of a time we would want you to plan in advance and request an independent study absence from school. But if you just call that day and say, we took a last minute trip to, and name whatever wonderful place, that would be an unexcused absence from school.
Okay.
Where can our families find this information?
We are actually working on updating our website to make sure that this is very clear on the Rocklin Unified website, which absences are excused and unexcused. It currently is all listed in our annual parent notification, as well as the parent handbooks that come out at the beginning of the school in the data confirmation process.
Okay, so what they got a few weeks ago is up to date.
What they got a few weeks ago is up to date with education code, yes.
Perfect, thank you.
So when we see the data on like chronic absenteeism, I know the district has been working really hard on attendance and having some really great results. Those numbers would reflect any absence, right, excused or unexcused.
That is correct.
And so the impacts on student learning obviously reflect any absence from school.
Correct. Okay. And so what we know, yes, they do. So any absence, whether it's excused or unexcused, are part of that chronic absenteeism percentage that we share with you.
Thank you.
Hannah, can you also help our families understand what our district gets paid for and what we don't get paid for as far as absences go?
Yes. So in the state of California, schools are funded based on ADA, that average daily attendance, which means that we are funded for students when they are here at school, when they come to our schools with the intent to be at school. And so whether when a student is out on an excused absence or a student is out on an unexcused absence, our school district unfortunately does not receive funding for any excused or any unexcused absence. The only times when students are away from school that the district can receive funding is one, if they're on a school-sponsored trip, like an overnight science camp or something like that, they're still considered at school. That one. There are two main other ones. The one is home and hospital instruction. That's relatively rare, where a student has a temporary disability, has a badly broken leg, and needs to participate in home and hospital instruction. That does count, where we do receive funding for that, and there's a process to go through to qualify for that, including doctor verification of need. And then the other way is through an independent study, asking for an independent study, completing the work while out on independent study. If students participate in independent study and do not complete the time value of work that would be equivalent to what they're doing in the classroom, we do not receive funding for students when they're out on independent study and don't do the work.
And just so parents can be clear, what is the change in that policy that happened recently?
So that is going to be, that's the next one. But just to answer the question, right, a little preview of foreshadowing, the next item, very exciting. We're moving from, or the state of California has put public school districts now in alignment with public charter schools, which allows for us to collect ADA for students who are in an independent study for 1 day. So it doesn't have to be the 3 consecutive days anymore.
Yeah, sorry, and then so the example of, I guess, the excuse, that's parent note. Can they call? Can they, like, how are we looking for the parent communication there?
Thank you. So the parent communication is the method that can be used to verify that a student is out absent, and parents are able to verify their student's excused absence up to a certain number in a school year. For example, they can verify 14 illness absences for a student. Again, we would, at the 15th day, you would be required to have a doctor's note. We hope that all of our students are back to school well before that in a school year and don't have that many cumulative absences anyway. But a parent can verify that absence, and they can do that through a written, handwritten note, a telephone call, a digital note, any message from that parent guardian or parent representative. It can be a conversation that happens over the phone, and all that it requires, the school clerks will work with parents on this, but it's just the school name, and we document who verified the absence, the date of the absence, and the reason for the absence.
And then how long, I mean, I guess we're not giving them too long to do that, right?
So when a student is going to be absent from school, we request that they contact the school right away. If we haven't heard that a student is going to be absent, they will get a message through Parent Square indicating that their child is out absent. It's very important because we want to make sure that if a family doesn't know that their child is out, that they're then notified that their child is not at school. And then if that day goes by, parents can still notify the office after the fact. They'll start to receive physical phone calls from the school office, and so families can help us by contacting us when their children are out.
Cool, thank you. Thank you for explaining the whole process on parent communication.
And I appreciate you taking the time for us to bring this forward as an action item. A lot of times, there's just language changes, might be a little bit of semantics or updating language or combining points together. But I know in talking about this, we really wanted to bring it forward as an action item, really so both our staff and our parents can be aware of these changes, both this item and the next item. I appreciate the thorough look at what absences are excused, right? I think a lot of times we just don't know as parents. On the policy 5113, I know we had an opportunity to really talk about that this last week, so I just wanted to publicly appreciate you. I think it was almost an hour or two kind of going over the language, but really wanting to understand, when we strike through something, why are we striking it through? And so I just really appreciated, Hannah, the opportunity to be able to kind of talk through some of those strike-throughs and to really see that the strike-throughs on that are being recommended, it's due to duplicative language. The intent is not changing, specifically in the two areas I'm going to highlight in a minute, but I think it's good for both staff and families to know that. Sometimes it's just condensing the language or referencing due to a new law in a new way. But there were two sections on there, both on the second page. One was a section about at the beginning of each academic year, the superintendent or designee shall send a notification to the parents, guardians of all students, informing them that school authorities may excuse a student from school to obtain confidential medical services without consent of the student's parent guardian. I wanted to assure the community and parents that language isn't being stricken, that policy, to remove that policy. It's actually included in the paragraph above it. And I really appreciated that you actually shared with me our sample annual parent notification that's been posted to the website. That it does show on the second page that notification annually is given from the district to parents. And so I just wanted to highlight that parent notification is not changing, and just get that confirmation from you that it's not changing. It's really just a language change here combining it. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes,
Perfect.
and it is on the bottom of page 2 of our annual parent notice, and that education code has not changed. And were that education code to change in the future, that could be something that's brought back by trustees to add this part back into the policy if that was of interest.
Great, but at this point it's not necessary because the ed code already requires that. Perfect.
Correct.
And then there was another area I know we had a great conversation about, right? The effect of absence on grades and credits. And I thought this is just another great one to highlight for our parents, our students, our staff listening in. We do want to ensure when our students are completing the work when they're out and they're turning it in, that they're able to receive credit for that. And I believe that is the common practice. It does happen. Seeing that strike through on here does not change that policy. Students that have an excused absence will still be able to receive full credit for their assignments if they complete them in their entirety. Is that correct?
That is correct. This is a rewording on page 1 that states that students are able to continue to receive full and complete credit for assignments on days when they were absent for an excused absence. That is different if they were out for an unexcused absence, all the more reason to participate in independent study. But if for an excused absence, students do have the opportunity within a reasonable amount of time to complete their assignment for full credit.
Perfect, thank you. I just wanted to highlight those two items because sometimes if you're skimming through and you see a strike through, you might think that the policy is changing when really, in fact, it's just the language. So I appreciate you helping me communicate that out to the public. Okay, any other comments or questions from trustees? No? Then thank you again. At this time, I will ask for a motion. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
First by trustee Sutherland, second by trustee Price. Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Adriana Boyce.
Yes.
Julie Hupp.
Yes.
Rochelle Price.
Yes.
Derek Counter.
Yes.
Michelle Sutherland.
Yes.
Tiffany Sadoff.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, you don't get to go away because we're moving on to item 9.4. 9.5, I can count. Will you please continue with item 9.5, our action on BPAR 6158 independent study?
Board Policy Administrative Regulation 6158 on independent study makes changes to program access, instructional time requirements, and independent study agreement procedures in order to adjust district procedures and receive average daily attendance, ADA, apportionment in alignment with recent independent study legislation change. Board action is recommended on BPAR 6158. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions and staff request action on this board policy and administrative regulation.
So this was another one I wanted brought forward just to ensure that, the community can be aware that this is due to a law change. The number of days have changed where a parent can request independent study. Could you highlight that again for our parents, what the change is there on that number of days?
Yes. So previously, a family needed to have three consecutive days in order to ask to have an independent study agreement and sign into an independent study agreement. A few years ago, that actually was changed in our school district from 5 days to 3 days, and now the law has changed to allow for 1 day independent study independent study reasons. So 1 day does not need to be consecutive or linked together. You can request an independent study, which is a significant change in the way that we're able to have independent study in our district. The difference, too, between the last changes and these is for independent study, unless the board takes action and it's in our board policy to allow for the 1 day, we would not be able to make that change to move to a 1 day. This independent study is governed by what is in the policy related to the length of time.
And so with that, I would imagine it could potentially increase the amount of independent study materials that need to be put together by teachers, and maybe, less lead time potentially if, it's a 1 day. Are there things that have been kind of done to help facilitate that if this is put into place? And do we think that there will be, some negative impacts to this change?
Thank you for asking that. I think that what this board policy and administrative regulation allows us to do is to deepen the collaboration with our TPA partners and CSEA partners on the implementation of this policy to make sure that we are really considering all of the factors. What's the impact on teachers? What will be the impact on student learning? What is the impact on our office clerks? It's our intention to, they're all aware this policy is coming tonight, and we're all in agreement that this is something we want to explore as a district and allow for. For example, we have students right now who are participating in weekly medical appointments for certain types of treatments. That's a perfect example of a student who could participate in independent study. They're out for medical appointments for 10 Tuesdays in a row. It's a very consistent absence. And instead of getting 10 absence days, they could do 10 days of independent study and not have their attendance affected, right? And we wouldn't have our ADA affected. However, for the typical rollout of independent study, what we would be looking at is ongoing collaboration with our labor partners in order to identify best practices for rolling this out in Rocklin, making some decisions together through strong collaboration on how this will look in our schools, and then implementing at the beginning of November, so looking at a November 4th rollout date to our school-wide school community. Prior to that time, we would do extensive parent communication to make sure our families were well aware of how to request an independent study, what the procedure looks like, how many days after an absence they need to request and say, hey, I would like to have that day be an independent study, or how many days in advance we're requesting if they know about a trip. So it gives us an opportunity to really look deeply at our practices related to independent study and make sure that our practices don't have don't inundate and have a negative impact on student learning and staff well-being.
Yeah, that turnaround November 4th is soon, but everyone feels confident that that's enough time to...
I think so. I think that we also on November 4th have the option to begin, right? And I think there's different ways. And we've been talking with some local charter schools about their implementation of one-day independent study, just to get a feeling about how do you do this? And it is doable. It's been done at other places, right? And so especially in these instances where we know students are going to be out, why wouldn't we, right, as a district, take advantage? Those few families I'm speaking of have already notified their school they're going to be out, right? And so this really does just give us that opportunity. There's other ways that we can implement it in a more, in a fashion that allows us to look at recouping high rates of ADA. Well, we may not be quite ready to do that on November 4th. We might look to do that later on in the year or beginning of next school year, but at least, you know, we can start collaborating with our labor partners and thinking about what's a reasonable way we can roll this out and start trialing what this looks like. And then I'm sure, just like any new implementation, right, there will be things that work exactly as expected, and then other areas where we will have to refine our process as we go. And I think we're well prepared to do that. Sarah Soares, our supervisor of attendance, has been already in collaboration, getting ready for this upcoming collaboration day on Friday, getting ideas generated so that at least we're coming in with, here's a variety of ideas that we could look at for how we might implement, because this policy change would allow us to explore a lot of different types of procedures.
Okay, thank you for that. I also wonder, I'm happy to hear that there will be a lot of parent, education on this and materials going out, because I do think about too, as we've been looking at student performance and achievement and seeing how great students are doing in the district and, continuing to improve over time, I think it would be good to kind of still keep parents in the loop that really being in class is still more beneficial, correct, than being on independent study. Because, seeing the numbers of students with many absences versus not, I would hate to see our student achievement decline if this were to be maybe overused, or thinking, okay, well, they still get credit and let's just pull them out for additional trips during the school year.
Yes. We still want our families to be taking all of their vacations during school breaks. We would like for parents to utilize our weekend times for those trips. We agree that we don't want to overly, we want to advertise, but we also don't want to overly sell the use of independent study, and that we want students at school learning amongst their peers, learning from our highly qualified teachers, having the opportunity for pro-social interactions with friends. This is where the best learning takes place, and an independent study packet will never take the place of a classroom teacher. And it's very different depending on the grade level. A first grader on independent study, it's very challenging to learn the things that are being taught in a classroom away from your classroom teacher, right? So we want to be cautious in our rollout to make sure that we're not overly selling, this is great, right? There's, and it's in the contract that parents sign that that they're going to need to help their child participate in the learning that's taking place. It's independent study. It's study in an independent way. However, we also want to not lose out on the opportunity to fund our classrooms for the students that are enrolled in our district. And so it is a balance. Some of the preliminary procedures we're looking at are when we go to approve the next packet for a family, we need to look at were the students successful with the previous request for independent study? Did they do the work that was assigned to them? Was it high quality work? And then cap it at a certain number of days in the school year, potentially that long-term timeline. At 16 days, it turns into long-term independent study. We can put in procedures that say, if it's going to be approved past this rate, it needs special approval from Education Services. And this policy and administrative regulation would allow that flexibility in order to allow our Associate Superintendents of Ed Services to put some parameters around to ensure that we're not impacting student learning to the greatest extent possible.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your attitude on this and also your perspective of balance, because this is long overdue. We should have had this same allowance years ago, so I'm really happy to see it happening now. And also, this balance also of independent study has traditionally been so much work for families and for our staff, and finding a way that it's approachable and people will utilize it. I really appreciate you guys also getting on it quickly, as we can, so we can, save that money starting as soon as we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just in general, so expectations, so parent that something's going to happen, they're going to be out. Is it day before, a couple days, just what are we expecting folks to do, and how do we want them to communicate?
These are great questions. So my first answer to this is going to be right away. There will be no change to practice, right, until we can develop procedures that we can make sure across all 17 schools we're using the same practices. And that way we don't confuse families. So we'll make sure to get clear communication out that details what the practices are going to be. What we are looking at, a preliminary, a preview that we're going to bring into some collaborative sessions are, if you know about the absence, right, we want to have notification in advance, right, 5 to 10 days in advance. That's standard practice right now. If you don't know about the absence, for example, I find out tonight, unfortunately, someone in my family is very ill. I'm traveling with my children across the country, and I'm going to be there for 2 days. And I have the opportunity to see Schoology in secondary and do the work, then I can contact the office on the first day of the independent study or within a certain number of days after, because the law change actually allows us, and this is part of the approval process, the law change will allow us to get the signatures at any time in the school year. We want to put some parameters around that because that's a paperwork challenge to get a signature at any time, but we want to be family friendly to this, but also reasonable. And so that's where working with our school clerks and our business department will be very helpful to identify what's that reasonable sweet spot for getting that signature. We're thinking somewhere in the, within 3 to 5 days of the absence. We need to know that you're planning on that being an independent study absence.
And then once we have a process and it's kind of clear, this will be on our USD website, school, the individual campus websites. I'm assuming if I need to look something up, I don't want to have to dig through 27 emails to find it.
Absolutely. So we are working right now. Chief Dosanjh and Sarah Soares, our supervisor of attendance, are working on an attendance page on our website that will be linked from all of the other school websites so that that information is standard across the district, and this independent study information will be on there. Thank you. And we can obviously inform trustees when that becomes live.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate the sensitivity that, when there's a law change, okay, this may have very positive ramifications for families. I really believe it can and should, and but I also acknowledge that this can be a little bit of a new workload, and how do we navigate this and figure this out? And so I appreciate the opportunity to not only talk tonight, but been able to talk the last week about how do we not only step one now, communicate the law change, but really work with our labor partners and really work with our teachers and our staff to see how can we execute this in a way that's really beneficial for our students and our parents, but also in a way that makes sense for our district and for our capacity, right? So I appreciate that. I know there are many conversations to come the next few weeks if this were to pass this evening, but thank you for the good, robust conversation tonight to talk about it, and also appreciate the clarity that this will be communicated out to parents once some of those regulations, administrative regulations, are figured out of how we actually roll this out. So thank you again on that. Seeing no other questions or comments, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
First by Trustee Hupp. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Sutherland. Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Adriana Boyce,
Yes.
Julie Hupp,
Yes.
Rochelle Price,
Yes.
Derek Counter,
Yes.
Michelle Sutherland,
Yes.
Tiffany Sadoff.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you, and thank you again. Okay. We're through the action items. Now we're on to our final informational item. At this time, I'd like to welcome Craig Rouse, our Senior Director of Facilities, Maintenance, and Operations, to present us information on our Summer 2024 Facilities, Maintenance, and Operations Project Update. Welcome, Craig.
Good evening, Board President Satoff, Board of Trustees, Deputy Superintendent Stahlheber, sorry. I'm coming tonight to give you an update of our, not only our summer projects, but the 23-24 fiscal year routine restricted maintenance projects. Tonight we'll be talking about our maintenance projects, our facilities capital improvement projects, our summer 2024, 23-24 routine restricted maintenance projects, our anticipated summer projects for next summer on routine restricted maintenance, and then our anticipated capital facilities program projects. So I bring this every year after summer, and I just like to stat, how many work orders have we done this year, and just over 4,400 work orders with our staff. And since July 1 this fiscal year, we've had well over 120 HVAC work orders that have been completed. We're still feeling the impact of the timeline for deliveries. It was getting a little tighter, and it seems like we're slipping a little further back again on HVAC, what they call barred units. They're the units that go on the portables, not the rooftop units. We were getting them between 8 and 10 weeks. Now we're looking at 13 to 14, 12 to 14 weeks. So we're tracking that. We also did some Rocklin High School varsity baseball repairs after the downpours over last winter. Our staff went out there, worked with one of our contractors, and we were able to get some trenching in to help that water flow out in that field. Our team did a great job getting the field ready as soon as the water started to dissipate to get them ready for the season. We replaced the damaged siding at Rocklin High School, our classrooms. We were able to do pretty much 2/3 of that siding replacement. It was quite a bit of task to do those 30 classrooms. We got it ready for the summertime work when we had a painting contractor come in and paint them. We also were able to do some siding replacement with our in-house staff at Victory High School. That was a R1. We had a water intrusion project. One of our connections to our toilets broke over the weekend, flooded the classroom, and we were able to do that work outside with our in-house staff. And we did some siding replacement at Springview Middle School. We also installed the Antelope Creek electronic marquee sign. Now the PTC purchased the sign, and our in-house staff were able to work with the engineers and get that installed over the summer. They're pretty excited. Brian's real excited because he doesn't have to go up the ladder anymore, so they can do it on their computer. We built the special ed calming rooms. We built one at Corey Trail, 2 at Parker Whitney, 1 at Sierra Elementary, 1 at Antelope Creek, and 1 at Rock Creek. So we worked with Leslie and her staff towards last spring. As we hit into the summer, went up to Placer County, I believe, and walked one of their classrooms that they had a calming room, met with their staff, said, how does this thing put together? And then we were able to build these in-house and save significant dollars. And we have 1 more to build at Antelope Creek. We're going to try and get that done over Thanksgiving break or the holiday break.
Craig, can I ask how those are used? Do you know? So it's a choice for the student to go into the room? Do they go in alone, or is a teacher in there with them? Okay. That's what I couldn't see, if there was a door or windows or how the child was. Okay, okay. Okay, thank you.
I had some of the similar questions, and I noticed the photo that was included in the slide. It looks like there's a movable half door, is that correct? But there always can be a line of sight that's available for the teacher, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, this slide shows just some of our in-house staff. We had some storm damage over the winter. We had a tree fall on the cobblestone admin building, and they were out there right away. We were able to take it down, collaborating with Ryan Johnson and his team, CTO. We were able to get the admin staff relocated into the library right before school started, and remove the tree, and luckily there wasn't much, any structural damage. We had some gutter damage and keep operations going. This other photo here is just a picture of the trench work that we did at Rocklin High School. And here we can see the common room. So the picture on the right it shows that half door. This one was built with a swing door on it. The other ones are built with a sliding door so that staff can slide it away and forward and use it at their discretion. The way that the location for this one took a swinging door. We also built these common rooms so that, if we have to relocate them, we can break them down very easily, take the pieces off and set it up at another site. What's that? I'm sorry? No, they do not. So these are photos of some facility capital improvement projects that we completed last year. This is on a Corey Trail portable classroom growth project. We dropped 5 portable classrooms. We started the project in April, May. I'm really thankful that Principal Patterson let us get on there early and working with their staff and kept the site separate from the school, and we were able to complete this before school opened. And then here's a photo of the Rocklin classroom, our classroom buildings, where we brought that back with the Rocklin blue. That was a big deal. So it came out nice. Some of the 2025 other capital improvement projects, we did phase 1, projects coming up for capital improvement would be the transportation bus EV project, infrastructure project number 2. And what that is, they were able to secure another grant, and we're going to add 3 more charging stations. So that project is out to bid, and we're hoping to bring that to the board for approval late winter of 2024 for next summer's installation. Actually, we can go probably in the spring to install it because there's no school impact. We've also been working on the nutrition services walk-in freezer generator project. The design is almost complete. We've been going back and forth with Placer County Air with the permit. It's almost complete. Worked with PG&E. That's always an adventure. But we're getting the meter worked out, and they're working with us to get the approval for the gas meter upgrade. I'm sorry, what's that? Right, exactly. Yeah. So
Where's that freezer
We have
at?
to have an air permit for that.
Craig, where's that freezer at? Is it at the nutritional service building?
It's behind the nutrition services building. As you're leaving that building headed towards M&O, there's a trash enclosure there. We're going to put it right behind there. So it's about 100 feet from the houses. So we kept it as far away as we could from the residential houses, which meets the requirements for Placer County Air. So this project is also funded by the Kitchen Infrastructure Training Funds. Charles Douglas, our Director of Nutrition Services, did a great job securing these funds. So these next photos are some collaboration projects, which is a combination of Booster Club, PTC projects. The first one here is for Whitney High School scoreboard replacement. They got it in right before the season started. And then the one to the right is where we're looking at where we did some work on the Rocklin High School Thunder Alley, putting down the pavers. Over at Breen Elementary, the PTC wanted to have an outdoor learning space. So what we did is we were able to remove the grass in between these 2 classroom wings, poured concrete down there, and then they're going to set up some benches so that they can have outdoor learning if they want to. There's an option for them. And then we talked about this a little earlier, is the Sunset Ranch Elementary PTC funded shade structure project. I wish I had a better picture now because they have the post up. And that'll be wrapped up by Friday of this week, and then we'll complete the DSA closeout by, heading into next week. But they're real excited to have this completed. Other projects that we completed, Valley View Blacktop Asphalt Repair Project. I put this picture on here because we had some wide cracks happening down the center of the asphalt, and then it's shrinking on the sides. So what we're trying to do, this is kind of our cutting edge experiment on these things. We worked with the contractor and we did a 4-foot cut, grinded 4 feet where the cracks were, and we paved that area out instead of having to grind the whole asphalt blacktop. And we're gonna see if that holds. And we turned around and we sealed it. So we're gonna watch that over the next couple of years, and hopefully we're able to extend the life of that blacktop. And then at Quarry Trail Elementary, because of the work that was done with the 5 portables, we're able to go ahead and slurry seal that school up and restripe it because there's a lot of trucks coming and going on the campus. Mentioned a little bit earlier, we did the Whitney High School tennis court resurface project. You know, the colors were selected by the campus, and that project was done before school had started. And then over at Rocklin High School, this was done last summer, but we noticed around December, January, that these cracks were coming back. So the project was still under warranty. I brought the contractor back out there, and it wasn't built per spec. So we got the engineers involved, contractor stepped up, and you know, we were able to go out there and basically reopen up all the areas that we worked on the summer prior, and they got this patch back per the engineered specifications and done right before camp started. So that was a timely project.
They are beautiful, and the pickleball
Came out
lines.
nice. Got pickleball
So
lines
happy
on there.
about, yeah.
So this
Yep.
This is a list of some other, projects that we completed, through the 23-24 fiscal year, routine restricted maintenance projects. I'll just go through it really quickly. We did asphalt repairs and striping at Breen, Sierra, Granite Oaks, Springview Middle, and Victory High School. We've been doing this for the last 2 or 3 years. Every summer, we asphalt crack fill all of our school sites. So trying to stay on top of that and getting that in we're doing it every year now. And then we'll pick 3 or 4 schools to do the full site, but continually fill in the crack fills on all the sites. We did some communication upgrades at Antelope Creek, Breen, Parker Whitney, and Rocklin Elementary. And once again, I want to commend our CTO, Ryan Johnson, and his staff. We meet every 2 weeks, and their help with this project, collaboration between our 2 departments, we're able to do this pretty much in-house. We did bark installation in the front of schools at certain locations. We did the Breen Elementary E-roof resurface. We did the Cobblestone Elementary concrete replacement in the main walkway in the front of the campus. Cobblestone Elementary room 30 carpet replacement, the district-wide window blind replacement, energy management system upgrades at Granite Oaks, Springview, and Breen, and that work was done with our in-house staff. Parker Whitney Elementary K-1 interior wall removal. We installed a sink in room 8 at Rocklin High. Rocklin Elementary, we did some wall repair from water damage. And at Rocklin High School, we also were able to replace the carpet in classrooms 1 through 30 in the RR classrooms. We took the savings from the paint bid that came back and were able to get that project out to bid and incorporate that before school started. And then we did some concrete replacement at Rocklin High School, more asphalt repair at Rucola, and then some flooring replacement at Sierra room 26. Springview Middle School, we had some damage, water damage, so we replaced the locker room ceiling. Victory High School, we talked about a little bit earlier, R1 portable water intrusion. Whitney High School, the J-Pod bathroom flooring replacement. And then Whitney High School J6 conversion from a computer lab, it's now converted into a special education classroom. I believe that was the last computer lab on campus, so that they no longer have any more computer labs, and we're just utilizing the space. We took out all the desks, pulled all the power back, put carpet down, and they can use the space. We did some Whitney High School kitchen ceiling repair, some track repair at Whitney High School. We also replaced the fire alarm devices in the Whitney High School theater. And then at Parker Whitney, room 35, it's a triple wide portable that was sinking in one corner. And so we found a contractor that lifted houses, and they actually came out and were able to lift that building up, rebuild the foundation, and get it back to level. That took place. So our total routine restricted maintenance expenditure for the 23-24 year was about $1.9 million. So anticipated summer projects for 2025, routine restricted maintenance. We're looking at doing asphalt repair replacement and slurry seal and striping at Sunset Ranch, Rocklin High School, and Whitney High School. Now, we'll work with the summer school at the high schools. We'll come in right after summer school's out, and then start working our way around the campus because we know there's a lot of activity as you start getting close to school opening. We're going to work on doing the Rocklin High School, our classrooms interior painting. We kind of work backwards. Usually you do the wall repair before we do the carpet repair, but we had the funding available, so we went on ahead and knocked out all the carpet. So we're going to take half of the classrooms and work on the wall repair. There's a lot of ripped wallpaper in those rooms, so we'll go ahead and work on that this summer. Sunset Ranch Elementary, exterior painting. Springview Middle School, exterior stucco repair and exterior painting. There's quite a bit of damage at Springview Middle School above the bricks. There's, you go 10 foot of brick and then the stucco above it. There's areas where balls have been hit there, and it's really put holes in the campus, and then we have cracks throughout. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna do the stucco repair, and then we're gonna do a stucco color coat to seal up all the cracks, and then we'll paint the doors and the gutters and the metal. So it's gonna be a color coat, skim coat, that's gonna help seal that asphalt, or that stucco. And then we're gonna, this is pretty typical domestic and irrigation water line repairs at multiple sites. Flooring replacement, Cobblestone and Parker Whitney. And then right now, concrete replacement, we're looking at Rocklin Elementary, Parker Whitney, Sierra, and Twin Oaks. And then we're looking at putting together communication upgrades at a couple more sites this summer. So we're still working with our tech friends, and we'll get that rolling for next summer. So our anticipated capital facilities program projects, that's that $58 million that you guys approved, and we're starting to move forward to get these projects rolling. Rocklin Elementary TK Portable Classroom Growth Project, that project is in the design phase and is scheduled to go to DSA for plan approval in the winter of 2025. We brought forward the portable manufacturer contract that has already been board approved. The timing of that was real critical so that we could get in line to get these portables built for us going into next summer. And then we're looking at bringing a site contract for board approval in the spring of 2025. And then I'm working with Principal Makis. Sorry. The challenge there is going to be, how can we start as soon as we can? Because that 10-week, 11-week timeline is just too short. And so we're working with her on a disruption plan. We're going to have to take out half that parking lot at the CDG area, and going to have to redirect traffic for drop-off and pickup. So the Twin Oaks Elementary Portable Replacement Project, that's the first of the 3 schools. That's going to go in 2026. But we're currently in the design phase right now, and that's scheduled to go to DSA also in the winter of 2025 for project approval. That's because what we're hearing is that the portable manufacturers, if we don't get in by spring of 2025, they won't have the buildings ready for us in 26. That's how much work's out there right now. So we're really pushing hard to get in line to get these built. We'll bring the contract for the site work portion of this in the spring of 2025, ready for installation in 26. I'm sorry, site work for board approval in 26. The HVAC rooftop replacement, the district board, the board approved the purchase of the units from Carrier. So owner furnished, and then we're putting together an installation package. So it'll be owner furnished, contractor installed. Those units are going to start arriving probably in the spring, and we're going to store them down at Carrier, one of their warehouses down there. And so as soon as we hit June, we'll go ahead and schedule the installation at Granite Oaks, Springview, Marine, Twin Oaks, and Antelope Creek. And I'm looking to bring the installation contract for board approval in the winter of 2025. So I'm currently working on that, and we'll go ahead and put that bid together. And the coordination is going to be extremely tight, and we have to determine where that cutoff is if we're not going to make it before school starts, because I can't have units off in 1st of August with school starting. So we'll get as much as we can get done before summer starts, and then we'll go ahead and schedule out throughout the rest of the year how we're going to come in on weekends and on the holiday break, and then we roll into the next summer. This is phase 1 of multiple phases of replacing 500 HVAC units. And then we're working on a LED lighting replacement package right now for Cobblestone and Breen Elementary. Hoping to get that completed this summer, 25 also. So our next steps is to continue to work on completing and getting our closeout wrapped up for this past summer projects. Continue to refine the list of anticipated routine restricted maintenance projects for next summer, and then we always get unforeseen conditions. So based on what's coming that we're not looking for or planning on, that might impact what I presented earlier as far as what we're planning on rolling out for next summer. And then we'll continue to update the board on future routine restricted maintenance projects and our capital facilities program projects, because as we get closer to summer, it's going to be a huge impact going in with not only the portable project, but the HVAC project and the lighting projects. That concludes my presentation. Any questions?
Yeah, so thank you. Great to see, and pictures explain a lot of things and show the history, show all the great projects you guys have done. It's amazing to see. I think you only see what's in your neighborhood or where your kids go to school, but realize we have 17 sites and plus all the others that you're taking care of and making things work out. So thank you to you and your team. It's just great to see the progress and things continue to look amazing. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the collaboration that's going on between the PTCs and facilities to help get some of these projects that school sites are really excited about and really motivated to fundraise for and actually have them come to fruition, like the shade structure, the marquees. I know it hasn't always been as easy for school sites to do that, so I really appreciate those efforts because I think it just helps, get families excited too about taking an active role in their campuses and helping to make them better. I also was really excited to see about the calming rooms that had been installed on the campuses. There was a comment, a question, I think President Sathoff about the MPS change in funding and a decrease. And like these are the kind of things that we can have on our campuses to help to serve as many students as possible within our district rather than having to get non-public school involved. Definitely, these are things, I see on the sites that I work at, and students willingly take breaks in these calming areas. You would not keep them in there. You wouldn't make them go in there. That would be seclusion, which is not allowed. So it's a positive. It gives them, usually just a little extra space when maybe they're overstimulated and there's a lot going on in the classroom. I wanted to ask about the HVAC. So I see the future 2025 and the sites. I did notice on one of the early slides, you had noted that there was unreliable manufacturing delivery times still impacting repair and replacement scheduling kind of earlier in this 24. So are there still, are those two separate kind of items, these that have been kind of held up in delivery versus the planned for 25, or are those the same?
That's a great question. The delay that we're seeing right now and the impact is for our routine restricted maintenance projects that aren't included in the plan that I have going for next summer. So a classroom, school started, for instance, a HVAC unit on a portable classroom, it died, it stopped working, and then we go ahead and say, okay, we've assessed it, we brought out the contractor, we can't replace anything in it, it needs to be replaced, so we go ahead and place that order, and that's the impact that's happening right now. For our capital facilities program, we were able to bring that contract forward for approval in enough time, early enough, so that it won't impact those projects starting for this coming up summer. So those units will be coming in prior to June, so I think we have plenty of time to get those in.
For those sites kind of planned for next year?
Yes, for summer 2025. The impact is just really hurting us on the routine restricted daily maintenance projects.
Okay, so then there are campuses maybe still waiting on some of these things that were planned?
Yes.
Okay, and thinking that do you have any kind of timeline for those, or?
I don't have the list in front of me, but I know that our team pushes really hard to expedite that process, because we have to go out and get 3 bids, and then we get the 3 bids, then it comes to me, we approve it, and then we push to get it delivered and installed as quick as possible. So I know that district-wide, the summer was extremely hot. We were very fortunate when school started, kind of cooled down a little bit, so we still had 100 plus 20, over 128, work orders for HVAC repair. But the number of units that were failing were less than last year. So I think we kind of dodged that bullet with the heat wave kind of hitting, summertime, not when school started. So it's an ongoing issue and control, and over the next, 3 to 4 years, we're hoping that subsides as we start to replace campus-wide with new units and, start removing these units that are over 20 years old. So that's the goal. I'm really excited about that.
Okay,
Can't
thank
get it done
you.
fast enough.
Craig, I really appreciate the thorough report. And I know at one point you're like, oh, I'm just going to list these things off. But I think it's good for the community here and our staff to hear the work that you guys are doing. A few things wanted to highlight. I really appreciated the comprehensive look of the district as a whole. It wasn't just 1 or 2 or 3 sites. I really saw sites representative of both our elementary and secondary throughout the campus that you guys were doing work on. I really appreciate, the priority of the board. We've really said we want to address our aging buildings. We do have aging campuses, and so I really appreciate you saying, okay, here's what we can do, and executing it and getting it done and giving us updates. I think it's important for our parents to know and for our staff to know that we have aging buildings, and we're trying to prioritize where we can and do what we can to make sure we have safe and comfortable learning and teaching environments, right? When we have an environment that is safe and comfortable for our students to learn, it's also safe and comfortable for our staff to work in. And so I appreciate the focus on that. I also appreciated, it was just one little bullet point in there, but I wanted to highlight the district-wide window blind replacement. I know that was something I was concerned about. As we have safety plans on our campuses, part of that is in the event of an emergency, in many cases, it's, you're in the classroom, you close the blinds, and you cover. We're unable to do that if we have inoperable blinds. And so I really appreciate the focus on that district-wide of making sure that's done right away so that our students, again, are in the most safe environments as we can make for them. So thank you for that.
And just to clarify, that's an ongoing replacement. We weren't able to get, with the money that we had to set aside, we weren't able to replace all of them district-wide. We were able to hit every campus, do some on each campus.
Okay.
And then the requirements changed from the DSA that any window over 84 inches height required motors and the whole DSA process. So that kind of shifted our thought process on what we could and cannot replace. And so like the larger windows at Whitney High School, we're looking at coming in and doing tinting for now until we can come up with the funds to look at what the motorized windows, the motorized blind. Yes.
Okay, so I would say, as before, I would like to see that be a priority made, and it sounds like that is a priority made, and it sounds like there's a little bit of a difficulty there, so I appreciate that. If there's anything we can do as a board to assist in meeting that goal as quickly as possible, I do think that's, it sounds like, again, one silly small little bullet point, but I think there's a great impact of doing that, so thank you, and thank you for the update on that. Okay, seeing no questions, comments, thank you for the info item, Craig. I appreciate the update. Okay, I'm seeing no public comment. Okay. Seeing no public comment cards turned in, then we will move through to item 12.1, pending agenda items. Trustees, do you have any items to be placed on the pending agenda?
So I'd like to revisit something that I brought up a couple meetings ago when the passing of AB 1955 happened. Since then, last Wednesday, the San Bernardino Superior Court found in favor of Attorney General Rob Bonta and against Chino Valley School District, which had very similar board policies to what we have and what we put in place last September. The Parent Rights and Responsibilities Board Policy 5020 and the Non-Discrimination Harassment Policy 5145.3. They did find that the policy that singles out LGBTQ students was unconstitutional. However, they did find that part of the policy, or I guess the current Chino Valley School District policy, can be upheld and is legal for parent notification of changes to a student's record in a more general language that doesn't single out a certain student group and discriminate against them, which tells me that there is maybe a way forward to address parental notification concerns in a way that doesn't break the law. So I know there are, I'm sure, opportunities for this to be appealed. With that in mind, I still think that we could make a choice to move forward and re-examine the policy that we currently have on the books, even though it's not being enforced right now, knowing the changes that are coming in January. So I want to offer it up again, see if anyone might be interested in seconding my motion to put an action item on the October 16th agenda, or even an information item if it's just to talk about it and see what our options are. But I do feel with this that there may be a path forward that would be legal and still address concerns.
Thank you, Michelle, for bringing forward that item. I'm not hearing a second at this moment. For me, AB 1955 is still in court, and so because there are still several cases still being heard in court, I am at a place where I'd like to see the results of those first, but thank you for bringing forward that item. Not seeing a second. Are there any other items to be added to the pending agenda items? No? Okay. Then we will move, 13.1, we will adjourn. The meeting is now officially adjourned. Thank you.